everyone, and welcome to Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Samantha Powell, along with Ben Barnard. Happy 2025, Ben. Good to see you in the new year.
Happy 2025 to you too. How was your New Year's?
It was wonderful. I cooked a lot. I'm still getting over a little cold, so apologies if I sound a little nasally.
Listen, our team can fix that in post. You sound great.
Thank goodness for our wonderful Vizrt production team. But yeah, no, I had a wonderful New Year's. I made way too much food as usual. Had my neighbors over with their two little ones. So we did some arts and crafts, and watched a lot of football. There was like football on American football. So
Nice.
It was on every day. So, and I won my fantasy football league. So I had a really
well done.
good
What's
year.
the prize? What do you win?
I get money. I get
money.
Cash.
Nice.
Yes.
That's what we're all after.
I'm looking for, and it's going to come right before ISE, so I can take my winnings and maybe I'll treat you to dinner.
Oh well, that'd be incredible. Thank you so much. No, that sounds great. So American football, right? Big in America, I imagine, and around Christmas, New Year. Who's your team?
Oh my gosh, that's a good. I'm from the DC area. I live in Charlotte right now, but for years, you kind of like. The Washington Commanders were not good. And now we have a good quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who was on my fantasy league, which helped me win. So I have to root for them. I may come back now to being a Commanders fan. So fingers crossed. You just get tired of, losing over and over again. So I think that's going to be my team going forward. I used to be a Colts fan. It's a whole long thing. Tony Dungy, Manning, Peyton Manning, it's too much to talk about on this podcast. But yeah, so let's say the Commanders. Now, do you follow it at all? Because I know it's going to come on at, awkward times overseas.
Yeah, not really. I mean, the Super Bowl is kind of, I guess, like a bit of a universal thing. So that kind of like touches my sort of like sports interest. But it's usually around the time we're at ISE. I think it usually is played, and it's usually super like early in the morning or late at night, depending on your perspective. So yeah, but no, it took me a long time to wrap my head around the rules, like what everyone was doing, because like in a lot of English sports sports we would watch in England, substitutions are like a very limited thing. So like you would have maybe in football 3 or 4 substitutions you can make during the game, and once you're out of substitutions, you're done. Even if someone's injured, you just play with fewer people. Whereas I guess in American football, you have like a whole attacking setup and then like a whole defensive setup. People get changed. One guy's just there to kick a ball. Like he's just hanging out on the side, practicing kicking. He comes on, kicks, goes off. But that was crazy for me. But yeah, so I don't know huge amounts about it, but when I have watched it, it's been pretty interesting. So yeah.
My dog in the background also agrees with you. She's very confused as well. So
yeah, well, I mean, she needs to get on the podcast. The amount of time we spend editing her out, in post, I think we need to just bring her on at some point.
Give me a minute. She's about to make her debut because she's very vocal and she wants to also give me some props for winning my fantasy football. Give me a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned during this brief intermission while my co-host Samantha brings her co-host. Here she is.
Culprit.
Look at that.
This is the culprit.
She's quiet now.
Now she's quiet. We're doing some landscaping outside. So yes, she might as well just hang out for this episode so we can get through it.
Absolutely. Well, while she is being quiet, why don't we talk about today's episode? So we had some great conversations. I spoke with Vizrt. You spoke with Lightware. My conversation was with Liam over at Vizrt. So why don't we have a look at that now?
Let's take a look.
Well, for viewers, you will, of course, be able to see that I'm joined by Liam Hayter from Vizrt here. Liam, thank you so much for joining me, and for our listeners, welcome in as well. Liam, what's your job title at Vizrt?
I'm a product manager at Vizrt within our live production team, but also collaborate extensively with our real-time graphics colleagues here as well to enable fantastic storytelling. But also, I say a real big thank you to Vizrt for hosting us today.
Pleasure. Thank you for joining us. product manager, what does that entail? What does that mean for the layman?
Well, in terms of product management, it's basically looking at sort of our current products and also helping write and develop and steer our future roadmaps of what we build next. That's always based on customer feedback and the types of things that our end users want us to see, both old and new, and make sure that we sort of build that into our R&D and development and marketing plans. So I collaborate extensively across the business, as I say, from our R&D team, that's both in San Antonio and Bomp and other global offices as well, through to working with the marketing teams and other product managers, and then actually bring those products to market in a really collaborative way, which is something that we're really proud of at Vizrt.
So I guess that a large part of your role then is sort of keeping your finger on the pulse, figuring out what's next, what could be kind of coming down the pike, as it were. And I know certainly at Vizrt, we've been talking a lot recently about the convergence of broadcast and AV. So what sort of solutions are your clients looking for in broadcast technologies at the moment, and where do you see that kind of heading?
It's actually something that we've been doing for quite a long time now. We've been attending ISE for a number of years in the last years, and we've kind of sort of always been building our stands and how we present ourselves around NDI as a core IP underlying technology. And that lends itself to bringing broadcast and AV together, because you'll find that IP protocol in broadcast products and also increasingly in AV products. And particularly as a software-defined company as well, that means that we can actually start developing and bringing solutions that automatically start bringing these things together. So that's where we're integrating with video conferencing rooms, with Teams and Zoom from our TriCaster production system. That's what's actually just running behind me in the studio. And that's where we can actually do broadcast quality productions and connect them into any video call worldwide. In fact, I'm using a TriCaster and NDI to join this webinar today. And so naturally, these things are automatically overlapping, and protocols and products aside, it's that big convergence of everybody's been moving towards computers and software and then latterly networks. And that is what's really driving that whole broadcast AV space. And so we get a whole range of different projects and different types of customers coming to approach us, whether that's people developing cruise ships on one end all the way through to more traditional studios, whole buildings and corporations, to healthcare and legal. There's a real mix of types of customers that we get to meet and interact with at ISE. And even more so now that broadcast AV hit this sort of mainstream adoption now. And we're really looking forward to seeing what sort of projects people are coming up with next.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, it's a fantastic backdrop you've got there. And I can confirm to any viewers that it's not actually a virtual background. It's not a green screen. That is a real studio. It must be good and obviously very important for you and your customers and everything to have the access to that kind of setup. Is that something that you use a lot when you're sort of doing product demos and kind of getting people in to educate them on the systems?
Yeah, well, I'm actually in our customer experience center in Soho in London. So we've actually just converted a standard office meeting room into our studio here. And that's kind of a key part of our sort of message. And what we're sort of explaining to people now is that we can turn almost any space into somewhere to do anything from like a webinar to a presentation to a demonstration, all using the same building blocks, using the same key technologies, and actually be able to access them from anywhere. So, while we can actually work locally in the office here and access our video production capabilities from any desk that we like on the local network, we can actually do this between our offices. So in the NDI side of the business, we have a technology called NDI Bridge. And that means we can securely link sites up. And that's something that we're starting to see more and more customers want to take advantage of and build these kind of little satellite studios rather than the full development, and actually have their main AV infrastructure actually at their headquarters, for example. And that's something that what we do lends itself to very, very well indeed. And we'll be bringing those sort of approaches to ISE this year as well. Absolutely.
And I would like to talk about the ISE booth, and we'll get to that. But before we do, just want to obviously highlight, you've spoken a lot about just how important your customers are to you. So I just wanted to say it's fantastic to hear that, from an organization being so cognizant of what the customers want, rather than kind of telling them this is what the future is, this is what we're going to produce. It seems like you're very involved and you have a lot of kind of collaboration and conversation with them. Would that be accurate?
It would indeed, yeah. Our customers are first and foremost the ones that help sort of drive the adoption and the approaches. They're the ones that are creating the content. And it's something I learned early on in my career is that, whatever you want to try and create with technology, you've always got to start with what you want to make. What story do you want to tell? How do you want to communicate it? And then we work backwards towards the right fit and the right technologies to help deliver that. And again, that's something that, working within computers and software and networks really, really helps us with, because we can help shape things to those emerging use cases, which, getting more and more interesting and varied as this convergence increases, and I expect it to keep doing so. And it's always got to be driven back to what that customer wants to achieve and what story they want to tell and how. So.
Yeah, good stuff. No, that's really cool to hear. So in terms of partnerships, I know partnering with companies like Row, for example, highlights a collaborative approach. How do partnerships play into your vision of advancing broadcast AV, and what value do they bring to your customers?
I think partnerships are a key component. Like, not one vendor can create every single type of product to meet every single type of use case. And so a collaborative approach with some of the best-in-class vendors that deliver the other aspects that we can't is mission critical, really. So, for example, at ISE, we are going to be showcasing a virtual studio solution in partnership with both Row and Technopoint on the robotics side, and then bringing our software to that, so people can actually then present from any location that they wish, whether that's a small space, change the locale, a click of a button, all the way through to even bigger spaces than the space actually currently provides. And again, we're not going to be out there sort of producing video walls ourselves. We're not going to make every end component, but if we have strong partnerships with other vendors to actually get those customer-specific solutions off the ground, then that's actually better for the end user too. So we can sort of like co-certify each other. We can give each other a sample of approval as vendors. We can make sure that our support teams understand the overall solution too, and how to troubleshoot different aspects, certainly where we start overlapping and conjoining. And again, in broadcast AV, that's going to get a more and more a common theme that you're going to see, because it's about collaboration at every level. So.
Yeah, so I mean, we've danced around it at various points in this conversation, but we're going to go straight in. I'd love to hear about the booth that you've got at ISE. I mean, I'll definitely try and come by and experience it myself, although I'm sure you're going to be rushed off your feet. So if I don't get a chance for you to show me around on the day, tell us a little bit about it. I gather it's going to be quite a hands-on experience. What can people expect to see when they're there?
Well, we're going to be basically taking sort of like a microcosm approach to what we see some of our larger customers doing, who are starting to roll across our technologies and IP technology across whole buildings and sites. So as customers approach the stand, we've got our reception area. We'll be showcasing some of our HTML-led graphics there and showing how you could run video to your reception area. But then very swiftly, we've got this wonderful demonstration area in partnership with Row and Technopoint, where we'll be having our PTZ cameras tracking and working in real time, delivering those real-time rendered graphics onto the video wall. So that's very much steered towards presenters who want to look their best in auditoriums or more advanced studio spaces to create richer, more dynamic content. Then moving along from that, we've got another space which is configured like a meeting room or a classroom or any traditional presentation type space. And we'll be showing how we can utilize our NDI-enabled products to capture and deliver great presentations, beautifully shot, to anywhere that they need to be delivered. But we'll be augmenting that with a subset of what we're using in our stage area by using our Virtual Studio Go. So that's where we're going to bring AR from PowerPoint into the room too. And as you move down the stand, we'll have a software-defined control room, just like the one that I've got running behind me here, which can control the whole stand. And then deeper demos for systems integrators and engineers, people that are actually going to be operating and supporting those presenters who are going to be delivering the content and showing them exactly how we can actually put the different building blocks and architect the software behind the scenes there too. So we hope we've got something for everyone and anyone that'd like to create really engaging content at any scale or level imaginable at this year's show.
Well, I mean, that sounds absolutely incredible. I can't wait to come by and see that booth myself. For those traveling to the show, where can they find you?
You'll find us this year in Hall 4, stand 4L605, and we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at ISE.
Perfect. Well, again, Liam Hayter from Vizrt, thank you so much indeed for joining us. And safe travels to the show, and we'll see you there.
Well, as always, that was a great conversation, Ben. Good job.
Thank you very much indeed. No, it was really good to chat with Liam there. And I'm really excited, as I said in the interview with Liam, to check out their booth. It sounds like it's going to be a really kind of experiential, hands-on thing, and they're obviously very proud of it. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to going there and encouraging people to stop by themselves and see what's up. But again, next we're going to be talking to, or rather, we're going to be watching you talk to Lightware.
Yeah, I had a really great conversation with Roger. He was so much fun, and I can't wait to stop by his booth as well. So let's take a look and see a little bit about them and what we can expect to see at ISE with Lightware.
Let's do it.
I'm here with Roger Takacs with Lightware. So excited to have you, Roger. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I know we've chatted a little bit before this, but can you tell our viewers just a little bit about yourself and about your company, Lightware?
Absolutely. I'm happy to. So Roger Takacs, I'm the Executive Vice President for Lightware in the Americas in sales. I joined the company a little bit over 2 years ago. I've been doing audiovisual for a variety of different companies throughout AV, both on the manufacturer side and on the integration side, for the better part of the last 28 years.
Just a little while.
just a little while.
Just
I've been doing some of this. Yeah.
Great. And tell us a little bit about Lightware.
Well, Lightware is a company based in Budapest, Hungary, which is something that a lot of people didn't know about Lightware. So we're part of the European Union. All of our products are designed and manufactured in Budapest. And the company is 26 years old. Last year we celebrated our 25th anniversary.
So I know that USB devices, they've come a really long way from just having simple connectors or thumb drives to more expansive capabilities of USB-C today. So for maybe somebody who's a little bit newer to this technology, can you just give a little bit of a brief overview of some of those newer capabilities that USB-C has, and how has that evolution really helped to shape Lightware's approach over these past years?
USB is something that it's changed everything in the way that we look at a lot of what we do. I've said for years we got to watch a lot of video formats go away and get replaced by video formats. But we didn't really think about what USB was doing and how USB was coming into the market to replace some of those video formats and what was going on. So we've actually seen now, you brought up USB-C. USB-C is one incredible cable. You know, when you look at what that one little tiny cable can do, you know, it's on your phone, it's on your laptop now, it's on your tablet if you have a tablet. And for the most part, you know, it's incredible. It's this tiny little thing. It does audio and video if it's capable of doing that. It charges your phone at extremely high power, and it does some data, and it even can provide network, which is one of those amazing things to think about, and how it's evolved in what people are doing in the AV market.
And I know Lightware has been pioneering in the arena of USB integration for the AV industry. So how do you see the evolution of USB impacting, let's say, the conferencing and collaboration spaces? And what role does Lightware play in that evolution?
You know, if you think back pre-COVID, you know, I know it's really hard. We're all hungover from COVID still. But if we think back to pre-COVID, we were seeing a great rise in USB peripherals already hitting a lot of our conference rooms and meeting spaces, but there wasn't anything to do with them except for plug them into a computer that was in the room. They were just devices in the room connected to a computer that was in the room. What we were also seeing pre-COVID, and these are some trends, is we were seeing those older hard codecs where it was a dedicated codec from whatever company was going away, and they were becoming soft codec rooms. They were becoming Zoom, they were becoming Teams or a predecessor to Teams of some kind, or a WebEx room, but that was starting to happen before COVID. But what was different about what was happening before COVID and what's happening now is we were still dedicating a particular room to be that video conferencing room. And pre-COVID, so what was happening and what we were doing at that time is we were building our first matrix switchers that had USB capability on the matrix switch. So in 2020, great time to release a product, Lightware introduced the first matrix switcher to the market that had HDMI switching along with USB device hubbing and switching built into the same switch. So that in these conference rooms that people were doing soft codec in, they could move the devices from that PC that was in the room to a laptop. Now, we all know what happened in 2020. The conference room market pretty much died at the beginning of 2020, but we were also at that time working on our Taurus product, which is our UCX product line. And this is a product line where we started to integrate USB-C into the products. And what happened here was we started to hear from a lot of people that they wanted to have that same experience that they were having on their desktop at home during COVID. Because one thing we all learned was how to select the right camera on our computer and the right microphone on our computer.
I'm still working on that.
Oh, I watched you do that before we started this. You did a great job with that.
That happened.
But people learned how to do it. And what was something that was challenging before COVID became something that was very easy to do during and after COVID because people expected that capability. So what we started to see was more of that bring your own meeting application. You've probably heard people refer to it as BYOM, so that they bring their own laptop to the meeting room. There's peripherals in the meeting room, whether it's a camera, microphone, interactive touchscreen, keyboard, mouse, whatever the USB device may be there. But they want those to work on their laptop, just like it does on their desktop in the conference room. And so that's where what happened for us is we were already making this product pre-COVID. We released it in 2021, which again, not the greatest time to release a product focused on a conference room. But what happened was people realized they needed to have this USB capability in these rooms. So Lightware was in a great position at that time to bring this technology to the room for people that were starting to do those upgrades, so that as everything's continued to change and the expectations of what people were looking for continued to change, we got to see a lot of explosive growth in that market for both audio, video, and USB switching and host switching to be able to move everything on the AV matrix.
Wow, and that's amazing. And you were talking a little bit about, user expectations and the consistency of the user experience with your product. So how do you ensure that the transition between the different products that you guys have and the setups remains seamless, whether it's from the users in their personal setup or from that enterprise system? It sounds like it's just very seamless the way that you're explaining that.
Yeah, so this is actually something that we really focus on a lot, is that user experience. And there's multiple user experiences if you think about it, because the end user has an experience and the integrator has an experience as well, because the integrator that has to install it has to be easy to install. It has to be consistent no matter what type of room that's going to be installed. So we actually look at a few different types of rooms. So we look at kind of starting at the desktop, because that's where people get their belief of what everything should look like is from the desktop. So we'll start at the desktop. We'll move into a small huddle space or conference room where a table's up against a wall, where everything's within a cable lane. And then we'll go into a room where you've got a table in the middle of the room and you need to do some actual installation and cable pulls and terminations. And then you get into a room that's really complex with TVs all over the place and inputs all over the place. That's even more complex. And then you get into those divisible spaces where you've got walls that open and close. And we want to be able to provide people with a simple, expected solution across all of these different rooms. So one of the things that we're trying to do, now you can control Lightware with any third-party controller. We have an open API entirely, so that whoever you want to use to control, you can do that. But if you don't want to use a control system, you can just set it up for auto switching and automatic capabilities. So in these small spaces and on your desktop, You just want it to plug in and show up on the screen. You don't want to have to push a button somewhere else. You don't want to have to go to an app and open up something to make something work. You want the system to know what you want to have happen when you plug it in. So when we design a lot of our products, we're trying to create that consistent experience so that it doesn't matter what type of room you're in. Whenever you plug it in, it's going to do what you expect it to do.
Well, you've started to tease about some of the new products in your line. So why don't you go ahead and share a little bit about some of those new products? I'd love to hear about it.
Sure. Well, I guess there's such a full line, you know. I'll talk about the line maybe I'll start from an evolution and
Okay.
kind of how it's all started. So when we first started shipping the Taurus in 2021, we were shipping a standalone product. And the standalone product, it was a 4x2 switch. It had USB-C, HDMI, USB hub for all the different peripherals. If you looked at it from a drawing perspective for an integrator, it's nothing like they'd ever drawn before because everything was connected to one box to be able to do that. From a small room perspective, everything was a cable distance from this box. As long as it was a cable distance away, it worked just great. So for your huddle rooms, your small rooms, and all that, no problem. If you got some of our longer AOC cables over fiber, you could run USB-C a longer distance and things like that. But it was all cable-based in that way. We, of course, were working on extending it. And last year, we introduced what we call our Taurus TPX line. And our TPX line is that transmitter-receiver pair that everyone's so familiar with where we talk about extension. The difference being we're essentially extending USB-C and full-featured USB-C, but we're doing it up to 100 meters. Now, in the US, that's like 330 feet. But for the rest of the world, that's 100 meters. So when we talk about doing that, now we're getting our audio video, and this is 4K 60 444 video that we're doing this with, but we're also moving that USB signal to be able to go over the same connection. So when USB-C is doing 4K 60 444, you're limited to USB 2.0 speeds at 480 megabits, and that's what we support in our system. So we can move those high bandwidth cameras to be able to go from the really nice cameras with AI that have to move everything over that full bandwidth back to that laptop and be able to supply that over there, in addition to any microphones or anything else. So that's a point-to-point setup.
Okay.
And that's our TPX. So we have a couple different transmitter products with switchers. So if you need USB-C and HDMI, we can do that. And then we have receivers. We have a basic receiver, which just outputs to the display and has some inputs for USB. But we also have a receiver that we just introduced that at ISE will actually be showing to Europe for the first time at a show, which is our new 3x3 receiver. And the 3x3 gives us the ability to have the local inputs at the display, because really what's happened is the space behind the TV has become the rack. You know, there's no rack in the room. There's no credentas in the room anymore. So that space behind the TV, there's a lot of great companies that have made mounts so that you put the TV on the mount and then all that space behind the TV is where you mount all your equipment. So we put the 3x3 receiver in the mount and we can attach a couple other sources to the 3x3 as inputs. So if you have your room PC, or maybe you have your Zoom or your Teams PC that's back there providing that, we can have that, and we can host switch the USB to those as well as to whatever's at the transmitter at the table, making it quite a nice complex system with just two pieces of equipment in order to make all that happen, which is fantastic. So the next question that you asked, thank you.
Of course. That's my job here. That's what I do.
So where else are we going with this? Well, that's a point-to-point solution. The next question that comes up is, well, what if I want to have more screens than just that one screen over there in that one spot? What if I want a screen on every wall? What if I'm doing an auditorium and I want to have a lot of screens all over the place? What if I want to have a lot of different input locations instead of just that one transmitter location? So at Infocom this year, we actually introduced this concept of UC over IP, or our TPN product. And so what we're able to do now is, using a 10 gig network, we can connect an endpoint, wherever that may be, to this 10 gig switch. It's a dedicated video switch for our TPN network. It doesn't sit on the customer's network. It never touches a customer's network. So it's all completely separated through a firewall so that they don't cross over. But the idea here is, now I can have inputs anywhere, and I can have outputs anywhere, and I can move USB across all of this as well. So now I can have those big rooms that have cameras all over the place, and I can bring all those cameras to that one device that's in the room that might be controlling that meeting, and I can do it all over that common network and make it easy to use, or as easy as it can be when you have a lot of cameras on USB. You pull up that list, you gotta still find the right camera on the list. So it comes down to a software thing at that point.
And now, will that also be featured at ISE this upcoming year?
Oh, we have a very large wall with that featured.
Okay, great. Want to make good. I want to make sure everybody there in Europe can see it too.
So when we talk about what we do, then, and then, that's kind of the standalone, the extended, and the over IP version. That's kind of the basics of the backbone of what we do. But what's happening at ISE for us this year is, we're expanding off of the core products, and we're giving more features to more products, and we're bringing additional products to the market. So at the low end, and I say the low end, and I don't mean it as inexpensive end, well, even though it is less expensive. So I guess it is a lower end in that way. But it is just a smaller end in that way. We have a smaller dock-like product where it's not going to have a switch. We actually call it a 1x1 because it converts USB-C to HDMI. But all your peripherals can attach to it and be available whenever you connect. Now, that sounds like a dock, right? It just sounds like a regular USB-C dock. But one of the big differences here is, this can also sit on your network, and which means that you can monitor what's going on, and you can integrate it into some other software. So it's actually a very professional docking station, and it can be used for a room, not just somebody's desktop, where they want to connect USB-C to be able to do that quite easily. So that's a brand new product that we're showing at ISE for the first time. Yes, that will be featured. And then we have two other really cool new technology advancements that we're doing in our product line. One of them is our Bridge Dante product. And the Dante Bridge is very unique and very special. And one of the things that the Dante Bridge does is it has the ability on our, right now it's a standalone product, because we have to integrate it into more of our product line after we make the first one. Because remember, all of our stuff is designed and manufactured in Hungary. So they have to get all the knowledge of how it works. So they're really making sure that they understand how it works before they integrate it into the full product line. But what we've got that we're going to show is the ability now with the Dante product to have audio come in 4 different ways. So you can have audio come in on HDMI, or USB-C, or a USB device that's connected to it, or audio can come in on Dante, because it's got 2 channels of Dante. Now, how can audio go out? Well, audio can go out on the HDMI out to the display. There's an analog audio out on the product as well, so I can just hook it up to an amplifier. There's Dante 2-channel out, and then there's the ability for it to connect to a USB-C host, or a USB host on the computer. And when I put it on the computer and have a host, now it doesn't matter which audio is coming into the product, it's going to be available to that host. And what that ultimately means is I'm bridging Dante to a PC without any software, which is actually something that's pretty impressive alone right there. But even more impressive, and our engineers kind of laugh that people are so impressed by this one. Even more impressive, we made it so that you can rename the USB connection. so that instead of saying Lightware UCX 4x3 HC40BD, because it's a name everybody knows and should want to connect to, you can have it just say room audio. And that way people would know to select that for the audio for the room when they're put their laptop in there.
Sounds like there's going to be so many amazing products at your booth. So we definitely want to make sure our audience knows where to find you and where to find Lightware at ISE. So can you share, what is your booth number at ISE?
We are 3C800.
Well, I really appreciate you taking your time, Roger. Thank you so much. And a big special thank you to Lightware. We really can't wait to check out your products. And if people want to find out more about Lightware and the products that you guys offer, where should someone go?
Well, the best place to go is lightware.com. And very soon we'll have lightware.com/ISE for all the new releases that will be up for that. But that's not up and running yet, but it probably will be by the time we finish this and post this podcast. You can also follow us on social media. LinkedIn, we post a lot of announcements over there, same as Twitter and some other socials.
Wonderful. Well, we'll definitely be sure to check that out and mark your calendars, put in your notes, and download the app. And yeah, can't wait to see you and everything Lightware has to offer at ISE. Thanks so much, Roger.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, and right back at you there, Sam. That was a fantastic interview with Lightware. Sounds like there's a lot of people who are going to have some pretty interesting booths at ISE this year.
Absolutely. So I'm already starting to make my little schedule and my map on who I need to see and how I can cram as many visits in, during ISE. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in for this episode. Next time, we are going to be talking to Avocor. If you want to know more about Avocor, then make sure you tune in for the next episode. But until then, Sam, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, as always. And really nice to meet your co-host there. I don't think we actually introduced her formally, though. What is her name?
Yes, now she wants to take a nap. This is Mia, the Morkie.
Okay.
So she's Maltese Yorkie. And yes, so she really loves being a part of Backstage Pass. So hopefully this is her only episode, and the next ones she'll be quiet.
Yeah, well, and for those watching, they can obviously see what's going on here. For those just listening, we've got the beautiful Mia here. She's kind of half interested in the mic, half interested in looking Sam's face, which is also interesting. She has an inquisitive expression about her, and I think she's going to be a star.
She says she can't wait for ISE as well. So yes. So now we've had a wonderful episode this time. And yeah, as Ben said, look forward to hearing more about Avocor on our next one. And for Ben and me, we will see you next time on Backstage Pass. Bye, everyone.
Bye.